I'm Stacy. I'm definitely an addict. Grateful to be here. The weekend is so peaceful. I can't, we can. I've experienced this extremely many times. I came to the program in 1997 and been in and out of the program. I figured out, after people who's been, 7, 8 years clean and still coming back to meetings on a regular basis, I finally figured out, well, you know what, for the rest of my life, I thought I was gonna party, but now I party with different addicts. The addicts that, their desire is to stay clean and have fun. I know I can't do it myself. Tried a couple different times. I carry my books with me. They're like always in my truck. I've learned this time doing the step work is a better way of the program. Instead of reading the steps or hearing the steps at meetings, once you start doing the leg work, doing the footwork, start writing the stuff, things start coming out. My higher power has brought a lot of good things to me in the last 3 years. And I know that the only way I'm going to keep these things I have is to continue to work my steps, talk to my sponsor, talk to my fellow, recovering addicts, friends, coming to these functions. I find growth. I know I can't do it myself. I gotta look at the other people who've done it, and I gotta keep my higher power in it. What he brings me definitely is, something that I can get through. I've been through many and many things. When I was about 8 months clean, my father died from addiction. And I just totally thought that was crazy. The only thing I knew that my dad did was drink and get high. I mean, from the time I was knee high, there was a party at my house every weekend. All the time. It started on Friday when he got off work and didn't end until Monday when we went back to school the next day. So I thought partying was my life. I thought that was normal. And when I continued to do it and seeing that I wasn't doing the proper things, taking care of my child, having a home, I had to look to something else, and that's when I went into outpatient at Oaklawn, and they actually introduced me told me I had to go to some meetings. I went to the other 12-step program, and alcohol wasn't me. So I asked more and found NA, and grateful that somebody came up with the addiction, because today I use it. I feel like most of the times I don't have the urge to use today because I stay in my book and I stay in my steps, and I know that it's not a choice for me. They still come up. I dream about it a lot. That's my biggest thing. But I seem to find a way to get through it. I discuss it with other people. They tell me what their dreams mean to them. What I get from the other addicts and from going to meetings and hearing the other people's struggles gives me the power to know I can get through anything as long as I have my group and I have my higher power close to me. Every morning I get up, ask him, maybe be a little bit more like you today. No, I don't ask for the whole thing. I just ask for a little bit. Just, can I be a little bit more like you today? You know, help the others, carry the message, continue to let people know that today you don't have to be like my dad and die from addiction, that we can get through anything. My whole family thought that when my dad died, the funeral was right in the middle of my using area, so they figured I'd go back out. And my higher power got me through it. I still, you know, I feel the feelings a lot now, because I hated the man when he was alive. He, you know, didn't quite teach me the right way to live. I was told all the bad things, called all the bad things. So my self-esteem wasn't too good, but every day I still miss him. You know, so it was something that made me learn, was something that build my strength. When I talk to other recovering addicts that, you know, are going through some of the things that I went through, or went through some of the things I go through, because we're all alike, it gives me so much inner peace. I know I can get through another day clean. I don't have to use. Just because that's all I seen when I was a kid, that doesn't mean that that's what I gotta do today. I'm thankful today that I have a choice. I'm very glad that I'm here. It's an awesome weekend. I know meeting makers make it. I've seen it. My sponsor just celebrated 25 years and she still does 3-4 meetings a week. So I see that that's going to have to be my future. I used every day of the week. So today my future is continuing to go to meetings, share the message, work my steps, and I'll keep coming back because I know I see that's what works. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks again, Stacy. And also our second speaker, we have another Dan. Another Dan S.
Oh, I'm an addict called Dan. I don't think I can fill the rest of the time up, but when you get tired of hearing me share, raise your hand and I'll let you come up. Thank you. See, I can't do it myself. I needed your help to make that decision. I haven't put a lot of thought into it. I just found out about it at lunchtime today that this spot was still open, and Derek was asking for a volunteer, and there's a few things that I have gratitude for this weekend specifically that relate to this topic. But in the process of listening to Stacy share and thinking about what I have to share on this, I could tell you about the times that I practiced self-will and how it came out. You know, I think we can all talk about that as much as we want to, and I've kind of right, and I don't want to anymore because I think we've all got enough experience in that area. So the one thing that I found out in this program in recovery, the first time I got clean, it was somebody else's idea. I did it for, do you hear that? I did it for somebody else. And I wasn't really looking for any help. All I wanted to do was just clean the mess up. When I did it my way. I got the mess cleaned up. I got my old job back, and I thought I was doing great. So I was all right with just continuing to do it my way. The only problem was I hadn't listened to you guys while I was here, and I quit coming here, and I found myself in the same position as what I had been before in a using atmosphere. I call it a dope house today because there's a lot of different variations of dope houses in my mind. But it was a dope house that I thought I could go to just to have a good time. I'd learned how to shoot pool better when I was in prison the first time, so I thought I could go and show some guys how I could run the table, or just have a good time, have a burger, and drink a Pepsi. Within 3 months of that time frame, I was back in jail. That was my thinking. While I was in prison the second time, I finally came up with this conclusion that I had paid as much as I wanted to pay to find out whether or not I could use successfully or not. I didn't want to try it anymore. So I came to the meetings. Actually, I came to H&I meetings inside with a little different frame of mind. And I started asking questions at the meeting. I'd bring up topics. If I couldn't stay clean the last time, how am I going to stay clean this time? How am I going to make amends to my kids? That was one of the biggest resentments I had from this disease, was all the time that it had taken from my kids. How am I going to do that? And I came up with some real simple solutions. The same old timer told me, he said, the best amends you can make to your kids today is just not use today. I can handle that, if I want to. And the other one was, he says, if I get out and I put as much effort into staying clean as what I did in my active addiction to get the drugs, I don't have nothing to worry about either. And so that took that excuse away, or that that little problem. So that was my first exposure to the concept that I could ask somebody else a question and get some positive feedback that made sense to me toward a goal that I... Now, no matter why I was here the first time, that screwed up my using, like we tell all the newcomers, and it did help in that decision-making process, no matter why I was here. And for those people that I see at meetings that come in to get their papers signed, and I'm so glad to sign their papers. It's, I don't care why you're here. You guys screwed my using up, I'm going to screw some other people's using up. Because if I can quit, anybody can, And as I got out, I got into service work in the area that I'm at. First thing I did, I knew a little bit about the area structure from my first exposure, and I come out and I started asking, what can I do? Is there anything that somebody with this little bit of clean time can do to help you out? And they started helping me. What I learned in that time frame from those other addicts is priceless today. I didn't know anything about working with other people in a group. I had isolated myself. How am I supposed to know how to work in a committee, even as a volunteer, to clean ashtrays, if I don't want to take suggestions on where to put the ashtrays when they're clean? That's simple. Now, as we went on in this process, I learned that they had this consensus thing, you know, and they'd come in there and they'd discuss stuff, sometimes very avidly, and they would, you know, I said, what are these guys, you know, it was to a point where there was times when I thought there was going to be a fight break out, or you know, people weren't ever going to speak to each other again. It was the reactions that I had encountered. And the next meeting scheduled, we'd all show up, we'd be hugging each other again, and we'd sit down and work through some other situations. And that, you know, it just didn't make any sense to me starting out, but today, man, that's something that that's part of that gratitude that I have for this program. It helps me in my day-to-day, even in my employment. Being involved in a little bit of literature development process. In fact, I got to set in on some meetings where the Just for Today meditation book was being created, and that was my first exposure to that kind of activity. And you know, they had told me this book, this is written by thousands of addicts for the addicts. You know, and for me to read this, it's not something I could come up with. I wouldn't have thought of that. How'd they come up with that? You know, and when you think about, this is our experience. You know, one of the acronyms, is that correct? Yeah, that they told me in treatment the very first time. You know, and they talked about the God thing, and they referred to the group of druggies, you know, as a God, and that's very applicable to this topic, because you know, I'd have never stayed clean if it wasn't for you guys, you know. That's the start of it. Whether I learned how to live or not, you know, that was a bonus. And just this, just the process, you know, and I happened to be getting out of prison the second time when the first We Grow with Love was getting ready to take place. And I heard him talk about it. I only lived about 12, 15 miles from here, and so I decided to come and check it out. And I seen that activity, those people working together. I think there was 35 people here that time, and there's almost that many in this room. So if you can imagine that many of us scattered over this complex, you know, we've seen each other, but it wasn't very crowded. We didn't have to worry about whether the yurts were all full or not, or if there was room for us. But that's just one committee that I've stayed involved with, that I've watched that growing process in. Before I go into that anymore, the H&I thing, because I had been exposed to H&I inside, I had some gratitude for those people that came in. Our world created literature for H&I guidelines tells us right in there that we should not go in by ourselves. That's a suggestion. That's a high. Well, I even had to try that the second time I was when I got out the second time, and I got involved in H&I because I really wanted to, and I went to meetings that other people were supporting, that were established, and I continued to do that until other people's lives, and I found out in Narcotics Anonymous that our paths change. You know, we get lives, you know, we get families, we get all this other stuff, and our commitments change. And I found myself doing 2 different H&I meetings by myself. I went to area, I asked for help, and at that time no one could commit to do it. And I did it until there was an incident at one of the facilities that I knew that if I had been there at the wrong time, in the wrong place at the wrong time, it could have jeopardized my freedom. And that made it real clear why that suggestion was in there. So today, I'm still involved in H&I. I still love it. But I haven't went into a meeting since then by myself. I even took some time off until there was other people that seen the need, you know. And I see people shaking their heads because some of them people have come to me and you know, wanted my commitment to help. And I said, yeah, I'll help, but let me see it work. You know, I want to see you guys get it started, and then I'll help you, because I wasn't going to be the one that was on the front row and having the commitment to be there regardless, like I did the first time, and be the only one again. I know how them people were when I told them I couldn't keep coming. I couldn't come anymore, and they didn't understand. Those normal people just don't understand. The part about the convention committee, you know, and every year that process has gotten easier, getting ready for this. We don't do this for anybody but you guys. We couldn't do it without you, you know. And we were at our one of our last convention committee meetings leading up to this process this weekend, and the whole year it was like we just kind of, you know, take care of this. Oh, it's about time to check out that, you know. And it was, I thought it was going pretty smooth. And we got to the second to last meeting, and I had enough experience that I knew that of my abilities that I might be forgetting something, you know. And so I bring up at the committee meeting, is there anything that anybody knows that we're forgetting? Do you know, what are we missing? And we sat there for a little bit, and it was like, and I hadn't thought of everything myself. We had done it as a committee up to that point, and nobody come up with anything. And one of the committee members says, "It just doesn't seem like we could be ready yet," or that we've done everything, but we couldn't think of anything else that needed to be done. And we get down here, God's taking care of it. You know, God has we put Him in charge of the weather, in case anybody wanted to know. I even tried to put it onto Camp Mac, and they wouldn't accept it, so I didn't have any other choice. But being able to have that feeling that, you know, and that never alone slogan that we use for NA, I don't have to do anything myself anymore. And no, you guys aren't always there, but that sense of that higher power's presence that you guys have given me, that I've acquired from being in these rooms, is what carries me through. You know, it's there. You know, and if I'd known I was sharing on this topic, I actually have a T-shirt that says that, because here in the last few years, I've in fact, there was one sold at the auction last night similar to it. But I've known for quite a while that I'm not doing this on my own. One of the things that I've commented about more than once in this try at recovery is that I didn't make it here by my choice. I didn't survive what I survived for no reason at all, and I know that, and that's what I ask newcomers if they don't understand, if they don't know whether they've got a higher power or not. You know, if you've ever been in a situation, did you ever get home some night and not know how you got home? Okay, so we weren't even doing that on our own, were we? You know, so there is a power greater than us. Real easy to recognize from that perspective. And like I said, I'm not going to fill up all this time. And I know there's a lot of people that have more experience in this room, so I'm not worried about filling it all up. So be prepared. You get a chance. The strength that I get from this weekend, and I never get to share it reflection, so this is a little bit from that in the past. We're always taking care of business, and well, I have a little bit, but not much. But the strength that I get from the group of you guys that I see on a regular basis, and some of them not every year, some it's every other year, some it's every 3 or 4 years, that carries through the rest of the year. And one prime example is like the group. There's a group that goes riding at a certain time to a certain place every year, and just being involved with an activity, one specific activity of the whole weekend that is memorable through the rest of the year. I mean, you know, that's we can, you know, if anything else, riding down the same highway and remembering that group activity. You know, this weekend, coming into this weekend, and the confidence that this committee has worked together with and approaching this activity has been undescribable. You know, it's just something about being on a similar link or on a similar goal that amazes me. It's nothing like them area meetings. Hasn't been this year, I know that. You know, and not that we haven't had some discussions. It's just that consensus was so easy to come up with, and I really don't know what else that is important enough to share with you, other than get some more phone numbers. You know, there's the list of tools that this program gives us to base our program on is all around this. It's all around this I Cant We Can. You know, there's just no. I could go through and start naming the Just for Today reading that's open here. You know, Serenity Prayer, and you all know what I'm talking about if you've been here a month or a day or two. So just keep coming back. It does work. You know, if you were here that first year, and there might be some people in the room, without thinking real hard, there might be somebody in the room that was here that year, but you wouldn't recognize me from a picture at that time. So, you know, I got into this program so I could live, and I end up getting old. So I guess a goal accomplished, or in process. But thanks for letting me share and not raising your hand yet. So, all right.
We've got some time. I don't have a watch, but I know we have some time, right? So I'm going to leave this open for if anyone would like to come up here and share. It is a taped meeting. I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let me know. The tape can be turned off.
My name is Jonathan. I'm an addict.
Hi, John.
I'm very grateful to be here today and very grateful to be alive. I know it's only through this program of Narcotics Anonymous and my higher power that I am alive today. And the one thing I wanted to talk about was my very, very early recovery, because the home group that I have now, I had was a spectacular, singularly interesting and unique experience. When I first got to NA, we had a couple of addicts who were kind of getting together, and we didn't know anything, nothing at all. And one guy had come to area, and he had brought back some of the literature. So we had a couple basic texts. I can remember one right at first, one basic text that we had, and that was for the group. And in our group, we knew that we needed more than the other fellowships had to offer, and we sit there and we studied that literature, and I mean, we went around the room and read a sentence at a time and tried to figure out what it meant. We read a paragraph at a time and would have an entire meeting about a paragraph. And it gave so much of a foundation to my program. And it was because of everyone else that was there. Because I had tried many years to stop using on my own. And at that time, when I got here, I was so egotistical. I believed that everything I had accomplished totally on my own without anybody else's help. But I did realize right at first that I hadn't accomplished anything when it came to I couldn't get clean. I could not get clean on my own. The whole grab yourself by your bootstraps and pull yourself up thing just did not work when it came to me not using. And I had to be around people. And there were some pretty sick people in our home group. And I mean, not really healthy. But we had to sit down. We had to read the literature. We had to talk to each other. We had to give each other strength. I can remember when there were people under 30 days who sat across from me and got clean, and they came back clean the next week. And that was what I needed, people with under 30 days. And so, in a very real way, this topic of I can't but we can is true in my life, and it still is true in my life. I've gone through a lot of stuff since I got to recovery, and every step of the way, it was the fellowship that saved my life. They were there after surgeries. They were there after diagnoses that I've gotten. They were there for spiritual strength, and they're always there. I carry around. I don't have a cell phone yet because I just can't afford it. But so I have these like scraps of paper and I have them in my pocket all the time with everybody's telephone numbers on, and I can always get a hold of someone to talk to. Because I know that relief and recovery is just a phone call away, and it's always been that way. I got into service work very early, and right now I question whether the amount of service work I do is in balance, But where I am in my life and what I'm doing as far as work is concerned, it is balanced. It's okay, because I need that much recovery for myself. I need to do that much service work to keep me completely involved with a lot of addicts and seeing a lot of addicts and working with a lot of addicts and trying to form relationships and to do joint projects where I'm not always in charge, and so it's still working in my life that I can't do it, but we can do it, and that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Pastor John.
My name is Neil and I'm an addict,
Hey, Neil.
and I didn't really want to come up here, so I knew I should. Well, I wanted to share with you part of my weekend and part of where I'm at and part of what led up to getting here. And I had a good week coming up to the convention. I always get excited. You know, I get this charge, this energy, and this year was no different. You know, I was really in prayer this last week. I had an acquaintance whose 5-year-old daughter was tragically killed this week, and so I'd been in prayer and I'd been with God and you know, struggling through life with a new job and this and everything else, but being really close to God and having gratitude, you know, in spite of circumstances. And my point is, I was really prepared to be here. You know, I felt I was in the right spot, in the right frame of mind, you know, the right place spiritually. And you know, now I feel worse than when I got here. And that's not anybody's fault but my own. In my rush and struggle through life and everything to get here, you know, I have a home group and we have the flyer for this convention, and it's been in my home group for 3-4 months, and I never took the time to look at it. And I have 3 kids with me, 4 kids. Anyway, I came out and I had stopped at the bank and, you know, packed everything in the world to be here, to be prepared and have a good weekend, and went to register and found out I was way short on my funds because my children are older now and I pay full price for 4 people. And Kim was gracious and she said, "That's okay, you know, we'll take care of this." And you know, she gave me my registration, and I thought, well, you know, good, everything's okay. But it wasn't. You know, everybody that's here is responsible to pay their way, and you know, that's how I want to be. You know, I want to be responsible, and then I talked some with Dan about it last night, and you know, I said I'm going to town, and you know, I'll go to the bank and I'll do my best to make it right. And went to the bank today, and the monies I've deposited this week haven't cleared. You know, so you know, and I'm not mad about that. You know, I'm pissed off that I wasn't really where I thought I was. I'm pissed off that I let my disease get me so excited and so caught up that I didn't take time to look at the flyer. I didn't take time to know what I needed to be here. You know, because I don't want to live, you know, without being responsible. And you know, that shit almost killed me. Years and years. And I didn't give a fuck. But today it really hurts when I come up short. You know, it really hurts when I don't do the right thing. And when I was new, I tell you in a heartbeat, I'm glad to be an addict. You know, and I am. You know, it got me here. It got me to accept God, and I'm glad that Dan shared about God, because you know, for me, that's what it's all about. No matter how you choose to believe, you know, I can, we can. That means that me, you, and God can. Because that's what my basic text tells me. And, you know, my last sponsor always told me that the 3 most dangerous words in an addict's vocabulary is "I've been thinking." And it's so true, you know. And it really sometimes pisses me off when that realization hits me that, you know, there you go again. And so I just wanted to share where I was at, you know. I wanted to say I'm sorry, you know, to the committee, and I will make it right as soon as possible. And you know, my disease told me, yeah, you don't need to share about it. You know, I got back from the bank, and I'm dog tired, so I slept this afternoon, and you know, took care of the tired part of my halt. You know, because I was angry, you know, and now I'm here to take care of the lonely part. You know, the loneliness for me is when I'm dealing with something and I'm not willing to share it, because then I go through it alone. And an addict alone is not only in the bad company, he's in the worst company he can be in. You know, that's what I believe. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for the great weather, you know. And most of all, I'm grateful to be clean right here and right now. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Neil.
Glad you're here.
Hey everybody, my name's Kerry. I'm an addict.
Gary.
Well, they say the reason that an addict alone up in his own head is in big trouble is because you're with the last person you used with. I don't know how it gets any more basic than that. We can deny that all we want, but that's the truth of the matter. I think I don't know if we're so different from each other. I mean, I was pretty resistant to the idea of joining a group of any kind where people sat around and what I thought was whined and, you know, or talked about using. I can say that my feeble efforts at trying to recover on my own were less than spectacular, and you know, the proof in that is just looking at like some things that Dan talked about, like I'd go to jail and get out of jail, and when I walked out that door I was just as physically clean as I am right now, but that didn't last very long. Even though my intentions were, well, maybe it should, but left to my own devices, there was only one way to do things, and they take on a life of their own for an addict. I guess what I learned was when I first got clean, I was fairly resistant, and there were people that were pretty active in service, and then they would like reach out to you. I used to hate to see them coming, because I knew, oh, they're gonna come and try to hug me, and they would call up where I was living with these other recovering addicts, and they'd say, are you gonna go to the dance on Saturday? And I'd go, no, I don't think so. And they'd go, we'll pick you up at 7. And they would. They'd come by, pick you up, come go along with us, and they'd go stand me in the corner, or I'd go stand myself in the corner, and about 11:30 they'd come collect me and take me back to where I was staying, and that's how it was at first, until I started to learn that being a part of something was better than being apart from something. Sometimes the learning process isn't always pleasant. We talked a little bit about this last Thursday, actually. For instance, I used to like to play frisbee in the parking lot with a couple guys, and kind of pretend that we didn't notice the meeting was starting. Oh, the meeting started. And I remember there was this one girl that was kind of like on this steering committee or something for this clubhouse, and she used to come out and go, "You need to go in the meeting," and I used to just think, "Oh, you need to never mind," But and the other things were getting a sponsor and having him say things like, all right, no more frisbee in the parking lot, but you need to come in the meeting, get your coffee or whatever you're going to get, go to the bathroom and sit down, and stop that talking to other people, because you might not want to hear what's going on in here, but somebody else might, and it's time for you to stop thinking only of yourself. Well, of course, he was 100% right about that, because I wasn't thinking about anybody else. I was only thinking of myself, and that's how it had been for years and years. I was a taker. And I took everything that you'd give, and I'd take even more after you stopped giving. And that's not the way it works in here. Not if you're going to be a part of. So that was a hard lesson, but it was a really good lesson, because he really brought it home to me that it was me that was the problem. And I think that also, early on, I was so self-absorbed, I'd spend the first part of the meeting worrying about what I was going to say, and not hearing anything. And then after it was my turn, I'd spend the rest of the meeting thinking about what I forgot to say and not hearing anything. And walking out of the meeting really feeling alone. Like I didn't get anything out of that meeting. Well, no wonder. But slowly but surely, the people either through very overt methods like my sponsor basically telling me to shut up and sit down, or people who are just really kind and gentle and encouraging, and welcoming, made me feel like I was a part of. And the crazy thing was I already was a part of. I just didn't know it. You know? So the one thing I did was I got busy in Narcotics Anonymous. Because one of the things I was told and what I learned was you can't fall off the middle. You know? And that the group can't relapse. People in it can, but the group can't relapse. That's been my experience to this day. The group cannot relapse. So I do everything I can to make myself part of the group. You know, every time that I kind of mentally relapse into this frame of mind, like, well, nobody understands, nobody's been where I've been, you know, my sponsor says, well, that sounds familiar. What does that make you think of? It's the same thing I thought when I got here. You know, and I have to be aware of that because I am still the same addict that walked in here if I don't continually work. You know, there's been a lot of progress, but it's not an entitlement. I can't stay clean on what I did last year or the year before. So I think one of the ways to be part of a group is to be of service to that group, to really be part of it, to play a role in the group. Not to be in charge of it, just to be part of it. Because we all know anybody that wants to be in charge of all the sick people, the head sickie is better check their motives, right? But, anyway, it's really great to be here, and I just want to thank y'all for my recovery. Thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Hi, family. I'm an addict, and my name is Lanita. Hello, Lanita. And I'm really enjoying myself here. And I just want to share a little bit because it's funny how our minds work about different situations, about different things. Because I was invited as a guest, you know, and was told, don't worry about anything, right? And I felt as I got here, like, I should be doing something. And I'm glad you guys passed those cans around last night. It gave me the opportunity to not feel like a freeloader, because I don't like feeling like that. But I want to tell you something funny, because when we first got here, I saw the green bands, right? And because we didn't have to register, you know, or anything, or it wasn't told to, or I didn't know. I heard about this when I drove up here, right? And I was thinking, oh, it is so nice. They have brought a detox center here. Oh, it's so wonderful. They're giving to all these newcomers. And when they said Matt was the speaker and he came up and he had a band on, I said, oh, shit. So I just wanted to share that with you because I was feeling like a freeloader, right? But today I know that I'm not. And if I make a human mistake, that's all it is. It's a human mistake. It's funny how we go from wanting to be takers all the time and then don't want to take anything, even if we deserve it. And if people know my character, they know that I'm not taking, you know, and I'm not trying to take from them. And if I do everything I can to make a situation, be it financial or whatever I need to do to set my side of the street clean, everything is okay. And I hope you feel better about this because, you know, I felt your pain when you cried about it. But then I said, wow, we sure can think crazy things. You know, I'm thinking that everybody in here is busload of detox clients here, and I'm thinking, oh, what a wonderful thing. And then we got somebody on the other end that just came up a little bit short financially and can't rest until they make it right, you know. But I just wanted to share that because that's what I thought when I came here. But it's definitely a lot of time here, and I'll say it again, like I said it before, I love the way this area uses this book, because it is what has helped to save my life. When I don't believe what you say, I can sure believe in this, because I definitely believe in the book. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't have a watch, but I'm guessing it's time. Okay. So whoever would like, for those of us who would like to close with a group